I'm happy to be part of the Ahlia Youth Connect initiatives organized by Ahlia University. As I understand, there is a series of talks taking place to build students' readiness for inclusive and sustainable growth and development in line with the economic vision of the country and exposed to the real world of work. So as a part, I'll try to do my best to give the exposure of the real world of work in focus in Bahrain-Bus. Good morning all and welcome to Bahrain-Bus. On behalf of Bahrain-Bus, I welcome you all to today's talk. If I am fast in somewhere, if you wanted to raise your hands, please raise. I'm happy to take question during the session or maybe in the afternoon session, in the end of the session. So, a minute. I'll just give my introduction. Already Hussein has given. Just to give, I'm Sampath Suvarna. I headed HR. Basically, my specialization is strategic HR operation, talent acquisition, stakeholder engagement, talent management, and transportation domain. Today, I talk about more on recruitment. Its focus is one of the part of the talks is basically the organizational behavior and leadership development. In part of the organizational behavior, one of the core aspects of it is when it comes to the organization is the recruitment. I focus basically on that bit and basically focus on Bahrain-Bus so that at least you know how the organizational behavior in terms of the dynamics, in terms of the recruitment aspects, which is because the entry point to any of the organization. Before taking into the to the recruitment process and organizational behavior, I will take you to the depot tool. Is it okay to go ahead? Let me know if the sound is visible.
Please, yeah. We are with you. Go ahead.
Okay. Right. Let me know if the sound is. Is it okay?
Yes, we can hear the sound, but great. Let's stop again. Yes.
Marhaba, welcome to Bahrain. Bahrain is an island kingdom situated in the Persian Gulf, off the coast of Saudi Arabia. A small kingdom with a population of just 1.7 million, Bahrain has strong historic ties with the UK and United States. Bahrain was the first country in the Middle East to discover oil in 1929, but now has a rich and diverse economy. The National Express International Division was established in 2011 to explore new opportunities in the Middle East and Asia. At that time there were many opportunities in the region and Saudi Arabia was a particular focus with bus contracts in Riyadh, Jeddah and Mecca being tendered. A senior bid team was established from different parts of the business to explore these opportunities. The team was perfectly positioned to put together the bid for the Bahrain RFP when it arose in 2012 and our proposals were written in the following 12 months. Since the mobilization of the Bahrain contract, further bids have been submitted for bus contracts in the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and as far afield as Singapore, and we continue to actively explore opportunities that fit National Express's business model. In order to bid for the contract in Bahrain, it was necessary to have a local partner. This was a contractual requirement at the time, but it also made good sense to have a strong local partner who knows the market and knows how to get things done in unfamiliar territory. The bid team had been in discussion with a company called AMA, Ahmed Mansour Al Ali. AMA are a very large family-run business. They have extensive operations in construction, aggregates, steelworks, property and vehicles among others. Established in 1954, AMA have been involved in the development of the infrastructure of the country from the early days. including building the airport and main medical facility. They are the local dealer for the German heavy vehicle manufacturer MAN, who were the preferred choice of vehicle fleet for this contract. Through discussions, it was proposed and agreed that National Express and AMA would combine to form the joint venture, BPTC, to bid for the contract. The JV company is a straight 50/50 ownership. National Express would provide the financing, personnel and operational know-how, whilst AMA undertook the extensive refurbishment project for the depot and bus stations, provided the housing facilities for the employees and all important local relations and stakeholder management. BPTC was named as referred bidder in mid-2014, and the concession contract was awarded in September of the same year. This did not leave much time for mobilization, as the contract was due to start in February of 2015. During this short window, the mobilization team had to procure the vehicle fleet of 141 vehicles, combining logistics from the UK, Germany, Portugal and Spain, recruit and train over 500 staff, fully refurbish the depot and 3 bus stations, as well as an accommodation facility to house our employees. No small task. The operation started as contracted on the 14th of February 2015, ramping up to a full service by August. We are now in year 6 of the 10-year contract. Although the Bahrain contract is relatively small in size, it is strategically important and very high profile in the region. All functions you would expect in any bus operation are carried out locally, as Bahrain Public Transport Company is a standalone operation. Once the mobilization was concluded, operations were handed over to the local management team, although there have been numerous personnel changes since that time. Our current management team are a mix of nominated individuals from both JV partners and local hires, but now hold a wealth of experience in international operations and have been working together as a team since late 2018. Safety, financial and operational responsibility for the business is held by the general manager, who reports to the JV board. At BPTC, like everywhere in National Express, safety is at the heart of all we do. Driving out harm has been embedded in the operation since the start of the contract, and in February 2018 the Target Zero campaign was also introduced. Driving out harm and Target Zero briefings are included in all training and safety events. A series of Target Zero posters, dashboard stickers, and roll-ups are posted at key locations to highlight the different safety issues. Face-to-face briefings are carried out with drivers and managers in all training sessions. At BPTC, we are committed not to compromise our own safety and the safety of our co-workers or passengers. Drivers at BPTC pledge to drive safely for themselves, for friends, for family and for the safety of others. Our team of professional and proactive driver trainers have regional training expertise and, importantly, the ability to communicate in suitable language. All trainers are accredited by IAM. To reduce paperwork and to improve accuracy and efficiency, our IT team has developed an in-house application called Toolbox. This application is used by our trainers and inspectors to record training, evaluations, and monitoring outcomes electronically. The data is fed automatically into the central database in real time. The system also sends an email to all relevant staff. The driver's dashboard is designed to record every driver's historical data in one place. It is a very useful tool for the driver management team to review a driver's historical performance in the simplest format with everything in one place. The dashboard contains the driver's basic information, accident record, risk score history, training and evaluation data, and monitoring outcomes. It also contains traffic violation details, customer complaints, and bonus data. The dashboard is updated every month and accessible to all relevant team members. Our safety standards are exceptional in the region, and we have a team of dedicated people working hard to achieve and maintain our safety targets. The FWI has dropped to 0.002 in 2020. Whilst we have seen a continual improvement in preventable accidents per million miles, which has reduced to 9.28 in 2020.
My name is Hassan, I'm from Bahrain.
Hi, I'm Daniel from the United Kingdom.
Namaste, I am Ravina and I am from India.
My name is Abed, I'm from Ghana.
My name is Sahadev, I am from Nepal. My name is Noor, I am from Pakistan.
I am Mark Christopher Buzan from the Philippines.
Due to the demographics of the population in Bahrain, it is common for most companies to recruit from overseas. Most of our recruitment campaigns happen outside Bahrain, mainly India, Nepal, Sri Lanka and the Philippines. These recruitment drives are undertaken with our own hour and training teams supported by local agencies following group standards at all times. Like all companies and countries, coronavirus has heavily impacted operations in Bahrain. We communicated best practice advice in health and hygiene from the beginning, however, infection rates were high early in the pandemic. The test and trace facilities in Bahrain are managed by the Ministry of Health and a special COVID task force. Testing is widespread and frequent. Since late 2020, the vaccination program has been widespread. There are 4 vaccines available and everybody can register to receive the vaccine of their choice. In support of the national effort against coronavirus, we converted 4 public buses into mobile testing units and provided them to the Ministry of Health. These vehicles are sent to different locations daily and conduct testing in the community and at remote locations. Each bus conducts more than 300 tests on daily basis. The way the operations department is structured at BPTC is all about the driver. There are 7 sections with service drivers at its center supporting drivers at driver management, traffic office, AVL, customer service offices, inspectors and retail staff. Personal development plans have been established for all driver support staff during 2020. As a result, individual development plans have been produced in line with world-class operations manager program. The BPTC driver management team consists of 2 managers directly responsible for managing drivers. They have been working with drivers in special monitoring, in PIP plans, and drivers showing risky behaviors have been coached to eliminate undesired performance. Their hard work has contributed to overall, continuous reduction in driver average risk score and improvement in safety statistics. In late 2020, we have started the Continuous Professional Development Program for drivers. We are committed to have an annual CPD, PDP discussion with all drivers each year. Until today, 60% drivers have completed competence assessment and appraisal discussion with a driver manager. As a result, the drivers have received personalized development plans and have been referred to the internal driver training department for agreed courses to attend. The training calendar is available to book courses including customer service, communication, and driver-specific training such as pre-service checks, defensive driving and emergency procedures. The National Express World Class Driver program has been introduced in BPTC in 2016. However, it is also linked to the Driver Monthly Performance Bonus Scheme. All drivers completing successful recruitment and training modules are considered as professional drivers, and are eligible for a monthly bonus based on meeting their KPI. After 12 months of continued good service, measured against set performance criteria, they become advanced drivers whilst receiving an additional monthly increment, connected to the Bradford factor and punctuality measures. After 24 months in service whilst meeting their KPI regularly, they have the opportunity to achieve Master Driver status, and after passing the Master Driver evaluation they can become World Class Driver. The AVL Control Center is responsible for monitoring our network's punctuality and supporting the drivers during unexpected road diversions and operational incidents. The team are using various systems including Atlas and Live onboard CCTV to monitor locations, punctuality and incidents. Every single trip operated is logged against the schedule with the driver, vehicle, stop times and passengers. Over the last 24 months we have introduced an automated lost kilometer check process which identifies the difference between system tracked trips and operated trips as per manual records. Any discrepancies are investigated to see if there was a tracking system error, and corrections in lost kilometers are made. This process has contributed to a significant reduction in LKM errors. Good cooperation with network planning and adding punctuality KPI to operational staff's monthly bonus criteria have contributed to improvements in network punctuality. In the recent month we have record punctuality exceeding 90%. This is owing to a more reliable timetable, increased operational effectiveness, a determined focus on punctuality demonstrated by operational staff, lighter traffic. During last 24 months we have been recording less lost kilometers. Operating environment. From an engineering perspective, the most challenging aspect of operating buses in Bahrain is the environment, the harsh summer heat, the dust from sandstorms, and the road infrastructure. These combine to cause abnormal operational maintenance issues in comparison to Europe or Asia. Sand gets into components and this abrasive substance accelerates wear. This means the inspection and lubrication service regime must be robust to ensure systems are in top operating condition. The road infrastructure in parts of Bahrain is detrimental to the vehicles that run in those areas. The road surface conditions cause premature wear and failures in suspension components and tires. The ability to inspect a vehicle well and spot potential issues is critical in ensuring in-service reliability. Due to the heat in the summer, the air conditioning system on our fleet is critical path. Unlike in the UK, any vehicle that the system is not working to its full capacity during the summer months is not allowed on the road. Technicians follow a prescribed clean and service regime periodically throughout the year. Each vehicle is also subject to an annual AC program based on the system manufacturer's guidelines and our local experience on issues and failure rates. During the summer, vehicles have AC systems running at a minimum of 16 hours per day non-stop. The components likely to fail based on time and condition are identified and changed out annually as a preventative measure rather than replace or fix on failure. The same process has been adopted for engine coolant systems, with regular monthly inspections of the system, along with an annual overhaul of the most common failure components. Whilst there is a cost associated with this type of maintenance arrangement, The long-term positive effect on lost KMS and passenger experience more than outweighs the monetary cost. The requirement to have a robust driver pre-service check is a direct result of the conditions the vehicles run in. The driver, as an integral part of our maintenance regime, conducts his pre-service check via our asset management app on his smartphone. The system guides the user through the areas to be checked in a methodical manner. Any defects found that the driver wishes to take a photograph of, he can simply click the picture button and an image will be sent along with the completed check. The recording of the check and any images of the defects for the duty engineering team's attention go directly to the core asset management system for the attention of the workshop manager in real time. This allows the workshop manager to allocate resource and materials if required to the vehicle before the vehicle has returned to the depot, improving the efficiency and productivity of the department. The IT department is responsible for the procurement and management of all systems, applications, IT infrastructure and security tools. Systems include enterprise applications for tracking and ticketing from Conduent, planning, rostering and daily duties allocation from Omni, maintenance and purchase ordering from Freeway, and Microsoft Navision for finance and HR functions. Microsoft Office, Outlook, Teams, SharePoint and Power BI are used for general productivity applications and reporting. These enterprise systems and productivity applications are supplemented by in-house built applications and tools such as lost KMs, safety and driver performance management. Where applicable, standardized tools and application programming interfaces, APIs, are leveraged to ensure consistent and secure information transfer. For example, an internally developed programming interface is used by the Ministry of Transport to display real-time bus departures at the Bahrain airport bus shelter. The same API has also been used to create a mini application showing live bus departures for each and every bus stop on the network. This mini application is accessible via the website, QR code posted at each bus stop poster or through WhatsApp chat messaging. During 2020, BPTC migrated all major systems from a physical hosting provider in the UK to Microsoft Azure Cloud Services in Dubai. To date, 94% of systems and service are now hosted within the cloud, including all tracking, ticketing, maintenance and ERP applications. Administrative functions such backups and security checks are fully automated and IT staff have online tools to diagnose and fix potential issues before they happen. The distributed nature of the cloud has meant that we have inbuilt redundancy. Multiple snapshots of the data allow us to power up test servers and to test disaster recovery scenarios at short notices. According to Microsoft, the cloud computing services achieves a 70% reduction in the overall carbon footprint. All these benefits are achieved without compromising security. The distributed and multi-layered approach has meant that we have improved our overall position in combating cyber security threats. Power BI, Business Reporting, BPTC is moving all reporting and analysis functions to Microsoft Power BI. This move puts all data in one place and allows reports to be created using multiple data sources. Operational teams can use daily updated data to perform further analysis, use it for KPIs, or create dashboards for use in reporting and presentations. Power BI allows self-service drill downs, slice and dice functions as well as the ability to create further reports.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hope you enjoyed the video.
It was nice presentation for the video.
Thank you. And we try to give real exposure, kind of a field trip and what we does in each department and how it functions. So at least you can have an idea how the BPTC function. So I can carry forward. So coming back to the recruitment, as I discussed earlier, my focus today's point, I think I have another 20-25 minutes, I think, so I will try to complete within 20-25 minutes. So coming back to the recruitment, I will take you in focus with the Bahrain bus. When we come to the recruitment, we talk about why recruitment considers critical for organization. What happens is when poor recruitment decisions have a domino effects, which leads to the long-term damage in terms of financial losses, in terms of the market image, in terms of the training costs, in terms of performing productivity losses, and it's also in the employees' morale. It is also impact on employees' morale. The worst case, the organization can fail to achieve its objectives, thereby losing a competitive edge in the share in the market. That's why it is very important and critical for organization. Simply to describe recruitment, the set of activities and the process as usually used to legally obtain a sufficient number of qualified people at the right place and the right time, so that the people and the organization can select each other in their own best short and a long-term interest. It is not only for the company, but also for a candidate perspective. You need to understand it is not only company's right, it is also my right, whether this company or that company meets my long-term and a short-term interest. Criticality of the talent acquisition, as we know, one of today's agenda is exposing you to the industry's real work life. That is, we understand over the few years, demand for talent is far exceeding the availability of the skilled worker at all levels in all industries. Why I've said, always I say, when I talk about criticality, we say that water everywhere. Where is the drinking water? So that is having done, it's a criticality of the skilled labor is always will be short. It's estimated that at least 1/3 of the business failure due to the poor hiring decision and inability to attract and retain talent. The average cost of replacing a manager in a professional capacity is always 1.5 to 4 times of their salaries. It's very important to get the same experience, same kind of a knowledge back to the business. So it's always cost of working underperformers runs into high 6 figures, because what happens is there's a multiple reasons. As I said, it's a domino effect. If you have a lower performing employees, its cost is always higher for a business. Business has to cope with that. So when we say criticalities, we talk about a bad recruitment. So we say bad recruitment happens in 3 situations. Basically, it is why bad recruitment happens. We always will look at as a recruiter, we look at the candidate into can do, the person lacks the skill required, will not do, the person lacks attitude, does not know what to do, the person lacks the knowledge. So this is what we talk about a bad recruitment. I will take you in details of these 3 factors in the coming slides. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer the questions or in later. Okay. Why bad recruitment occurs? There are quite many reasons. Basically, organization fail to analyze the job function properly. Necessity to the skills profile. We look at when we look at recruitment, we said we wanted to hire a bus driver, but with the skill set profile is not mapped. So you tend to take a different person which not meets the criteria. Initial screening, interview techniques, poor utilization of the second opinion, reference was not checked. These are the main reasons why. There are plenty of reasons, but a few reasons why bad recruitment occurs. So one of the best practices is always we say why we should not have a bad recruitment? Detect talent at infancy. What we do is challenging interview process, speed up the onboarding process. What we do is go to the campus, select in the campus so that you have a talent so that we can build this talent to the organizational requirement. That's how the organizational behavioral changes, organizational demand changes, the productivity increases. So coming back to the recruitment matrix, this is also important that an organization, we know how we perform. So there are three aspects to it. One of that important matrix when you look at the recruitment is the efficiency matrix. This is mainly efficiency matrix focused on the task of the recruitment, such as jobs, cost of the job failed, time job failed. We look at all these tasks and we understand where we are at our recruitment process. Then comes to efficiency matrix. Efficiency matrix, we look at the process. We look at the process when we look at the process, when we see whether the effectiveness of these process, basically it is a goal oriented. It looked at the retention rate for 6 months, number of job filled, number of candidates applying for the job, number of candidates shortlisted versus selection. We look at all this process and see whether these processes are effective and effectiveness of the process oriented. I'll come back to the examples of that. I'm just giving the example so that at least you know how these processes are mapped within the organization. Then the perceptual matrix. What happens if the perception is gathered within the organization? Perception of the new joiner of the system, organization environment, candidate perception about the process of the recruitment, employment branding, the referral of the candidate. So it is given perception how a company's recruitment process within the organization is performing. Is kind of a matrix. So some of the BPTC's matrix, we talked about the yield report. When we look at, in BPTC, we map all these into a yield report. We look at how many lead is generated with these recruitment, what is minimum requirement, how many pass the test, how far made, and the new hires. So we look at all this thing. We know as BPTC, our yield ratio is around 18 to 20% because we have a series of filtering process. Ultimately we only get 20% of our yield report. And could the efficiency, look at the perceptual matrix, we look at the candidates perception that how the representative, as a recruiter representative, dealt with the candidate, whether it was they are feeling, whether the company greet that candidate, whether the employer asked the recruitment fees, whether the employees, who has referred this candidate, whether the pre-employment job description has explained to the candidates. We look at all these factors to look at how our recruitment process is functioning. Then one questions we ask the employer how the candidate feel about recruitment process, because this is the way we can develop this recruitment process and build an organization behavior where the candidates feels more inclusive. So most of our recruitment process, most of the candidates say that 64% of our candidate felt that our recruitment process is excellent. Almost 26% they said our recruitment process is very good. Only 1% they said it is poor. So it's a kind of even then it's a kind of a process for improvement for all of us. One of the best practice in the recruitment matrix, many organizations likes to fix the yield ratio to control the effectiveness and efficiency of the recruitment process. Then I will take you through. To the overall recruitment process, stage by stage. So when we talk about recruitment, it is about determining the requirement. We cannot just go in the market and hire whatever the requirement. We have to understand what kind of a job, what kind of a job description, what kind of skills required, what is specific to organization, because that is the dynamics for us to understand the skill intake. They determine the organization culture and organization behavior. Then comes to the strategic sourcing. Whenever we look at the candidate, we see where are the pool available, like internal, external, campus, or a local, or a regional, or an international. It depends on the demand and supply. Then comes to shortlisting. Basically, whenever you look at determining what is the minimum required for that job, what is a shortlisting, because you need to have a pool, you need to have a checklist to say that this is the minimum requirement. Then assessment techniques, non-interviewing methods, basically practical test, aptitude, psychometric test, evaluation, other things. Then come based on the interviewing process, face-to-face interview, discussion critical areas, score sheet, because the kind of a different roles, we do a different testing methods. Then all comes to this selection and reference. This is one of the important segment. We give kind of a selection process and the reference checks based on the candidates' declarations. So all put together under the legal framework. This is overall process when we come to the hiring process under the legal framework. Is it okay? I'm too fast? Is it okay? I'm going.
We are enjoying your presentation. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Then I will take you through each of the process. You know how BPTC is inculcated all this process to build on our own organization culture and organization behavior. Starting with the determine the requirement, we talk about competency. It's important part for any organization. Competency are characteristics of any employees to lead to demonstrate skill and ability, which results effective performance within the organization. It's about a competence, is about skill and ability. It's important that any organization need to have a skill and ability of an employees to perform in the organization. So just to give a brief, BPTC, there are quite a lot of competency in the BPTC, but few is ability to work under stress, because we work on environment in a public transport domain. So stress is always there because we work against the time. Accountability, customer focus, communication, flexibility, interpersonal skill, operational efficiency, and discipline. These are some of the core competency. All the candidates we recruit, we look at all these aspects so that whether they are focused in these aspects, because every candidate, because that's built organization behavior, organization effectiveness. So more importantly, when we talk about competency, it is when we recruitment, it's a competency iceberg model. Definitely, in your studies, you have gone through the competency iceberg model. It is easier to change and harder to change. We talk about iceberg model. There are two competencies, but the technical competency are the tip of the portion above the waterline, which is clearly visible. They're easier to change. When we talk about in a general layman talks about, we know what you're doing to interview is knowledge and the skills test. What is knowledge? You do interview, ask some questions, then theory test. So you know whether he is skilled, whether he is knowledgeable. So it is easier for us to assess, but it is very harder to understand the behavioral competencies that are below the waterline. Always when you look at the iceberg, 70% is below the waterline. They are difficult to access and often harder to develop. Behavioral competence can be understood as a manifestation how the person views himself, or kind of a self-image, or his typical traits, or motivates him. What motivates him to do behavior? What motivates, like one of the leadership development, why leader is behaving the way he is behaving? That is important. We need to understand each and every employee in organization why he is behaving the way he, because most of our employees deal with the customers. That's where that makes the big differences in organization image, organization behavior. So this is important. One of the best practices, Jack Welch, former CEO of GE, said, quote, "Too often we hire for skills and then fire for personalities. I can teach skills, I want attitude." It's important for all of us to understand we have to have a right attitude to get into any organization and make a difference. Then comes to the strategic sourcing. A sourcing strategy is necessary for business effectiveness. How approach to the recruitment need in organization. It is important that how you are managing. There are quite different mediums, the internal and external. We talk about job posting, employer referral, ex-employees, external press, walk-in, social media, TV, branding, and events. So for example, these are the important, as we understand the COVID has more external, more CVs are now popping up rather than the older medias. So sourcing matrix, we talk about the sourcing channels, recruitment efficiency, acceptance rate, pipeline rate. We look at the sorting, we look at all these aspects and see where is the candidate coming from that, and which is the zero down in the factor. And come to BPTC, if you look at the profiles, we'll look at walk-ins for us because we are into business, very visible business in the market because we have a couple of stations where people walk in and drop the CVs. This is, we look at 36% of our candidate comes from the walk-in. Social media is quite, nowadays, in the recent past, they're quite engaging. It's almost 24% the social media. We have also people rejoin, they left and rejoining as a 10%. Even then it would be definitely more. But what we do is we do a lot of filtration when people want to rejoin the organization. We check their past record, then we only allow them to rejoin. Till then, it's a 10%. So reference around 9% from our portal. We're applying at 17% from the MOL. We get around 4%. So this is our overall sourcing strategy. When we know, we look at drill down back to the job positions, we see which are like the drivers, where is the walk-in is more, like in other positions, we look at the social media more. We make the decision to make the business effectiveness. So best practices as a recruiter, what we look at 80% of the talent acquisition leaders engage in one or more pipeline. We cannot say one is best, but you have a different pools so that you have a consistently flow of candidates. Then comes to the shortlisting. This is one of the important factors when the coming back. Shortlisting. In this stage, the selection process during which all applicants of or an appointment is considered against the requirement of post, which is detailed in a person specification. Basically, when we look at a candidate, we don't look at blind. We look at, say, minimum qualification, year of experience, legal specs, current salary and location, because we drill down the positions. This is some of the mandatory requirements, some of the job specs shortlisting candidate. Look at on the driver's side. We talk about a minimum requirement, who holds the licenses, who like a mandatory requirement. When it comes to the manager, also we define the candidate fitment. We say as a candidate fitment, we define what is that minimum requirement, because we don't fail to meet that minimum requirement, then the requirement, all the motives of the requirement will be failed. So then comes to the non-interviewing methods. When it comes to the non-interviewing methods, what happens is filtering the process, determining whether the candidate qualified to the role based on his education, experience, so that they write a lot of things in the resumes. But we need to mandatorily require the filtering out of all these applications to get deeper dive into the interview process. The various non-interviewing methods, basically knowledge-based filtration. What we do is knowledge-based filtration. We have a series of tests for the job specifics. So for example, drivers, we have some tests, technicians, aerial controllers, station staff. We have a typical test based on job description to filter the knowledge, how they understand the specific role. So then we have a skill-based test. Skill-based test because for drivers, a driver evaluation. For a controllers, they have to go to the software, understand, read the timetables. We give a kind of result. So this kind of a skill-based test. Then basically we do a psychometric test to understand the behavioral, where instead the competency we talks about the ability to understand the pressure, ability to customer focus. We look at the personality profile, whether they meet the minimum required. In the psychometric test, we never say pass or fail, but whether they meet the minimum requirement. So you understand any employee who comes to organization fit into the organization on organization structure. These are some of the interviewing methods. Discuss, because there's always a best practices when we talk about there's no one solution for everything, but as a different pipeline need to filter different talent acquisition leaders engage in different mode pipeline of activities. Then competency-based interviewing methods. This is employment interviews can be either structured or unstructured. Structured interview ensure the candidate have equal opportunities, provide information access accurately and consistently. What happens when it comes to the structured interviews? More important, why structural interviews? Behavioral and structured interview, all candidates ask the same question on the same order. All candidates are evaluated using the common rating scale. Interviews and agreements are answered and acceptable answers. Interviews are objective rating parameters, measured observation. So what happens is everybody asks a similar question in a structured way. But what happens in an unstructured way? In a normal unstructured way, people ask different questions based on the interviewer. The rating scales are not fixed, so it becomes very difficult. For BPTC evaluations, basically, we do a very structured approach. Everybody asks a similar questions. Everyone is interviewed on a similar scale so that we have a consistently in rating scale. So one of the best practices in the structured interviewing, competence-based interviewing is a behavioral anchor rating scale. So BPTC use this behavioral anchor rating scale, which is basically talks about developing model, which talks about any employee, any candidate who applies for us, basically based on the scores is basically on year of experiences, because we give weightages to all of this scoring, qualification based on their qualification, 5% weightages, test score around 15 percentages, assessment around 30%, functional interview on 30, HR interview. So everybody rated basically based on the 100 scales. So these are the weightages in terms of how we rate each of every candidate. So everyone is given a fair chance to score in the interview process. So usually we do a panel. So each HR and a functional interview have a different scoring. So for example, HR, if you look at it around functional interview are a 30% score, and HR has only 50% score because functional manager makes a big differences in terms of the recruitment process as such. These are some of the examples how we rate the candidate. Any candidate, it is basically no one makes the decision. It's a system makes the decision based on the rating scale, based on the set parameters. So less intervention on a manager perspective, but more on system oriented. Then comes to the selection and the reference checks. Then comes to the selection reference checks. This is reference checks basically with other stages selection process is important and solicited information released directly from the application ability to carry out the responsibility of operation. Very importantly, although these users the low predictive validity of the selection process, they do value in a maximum enhancing the following areas. We don't do much of the reference checks in the Middle East, but it is important that reference checks gives the predictiveness of how he performed or he is going to perform earlier. The referee's ability to write references, ability to access the candidate, because in the recruitment process, in the interview, they talk a lot many things, but it will only when you do a reference checks, it gets validated in that process, whether he said right, whether the achievement is done right, how he has been parted. This gives ability to tendency to check his in line of the candidate's requirement. Strength of the reference checks is the opportunity to check the accuracy of the sum of the statement and double check the accessor readings of individual candidates. So we do have BPTC reference check. We check on each and every candidate except the driver because they too go in different directions. We check more of their licensing requirement. Some of the best practices, we saw the red flag BPTC. If you look at our records, the criminal record checks, 1% of the candidates fail in the criminal record checks. Employment verification, it is 0% because what happens is most of our 80% of our population is drivers. They work on a project-based environment. When the project office is closed, we could not able to do a reference checking. So the failure rate is lesser. Education verification or a licensing, 6% even fail in education. This is all the red flags. We know how the people medical fail around 8%. So we do this kind of a sourcing and selection reference check so that we know that any candidate who on board, then we need not to have to terminate them rather than we before giving an offer, we check all this up. Some of the industry standard criminal record check around 16%, identity cross-examination check at 50%. You know, employment verification, almost 30% people drop out in employment verification, education verification, 10%, reference checks around 25%. This is one of the important validation when you design a company to, when you develop an organization behavior, important to have a right person to the right job and you get the right people to onboard our organization. The legal framework, then comes the legal framework. It's important that government registers a tightened regulation environment. Very few recruitment consultants are aware of the application. Agents are potentially opening up to the lawsuit, may cost millions. What happens is when we give a recruitment outside, agencies are not aware of the employment regulations. The company, they end up, ill marketing the company. They say company need to pay more money. You have to pay for recruitment. So important that company need to have a standard recruiters. If you are recruiting, we need to do a compliance check on them, how they behave. It's just not giving the recruitment process, because it's your brand, it's your image, and it may cost millions for a company. The guidelines regarding the recruitment selection, we follow the labor law, LMRA, Bahrainization, data protection, training and development, because it's important that we collect a huge rate of data. It is important that organization collect this personal data, not share with anyone, and protect them and destroy time to time. So these are the few recruitment process in terms of organization behavior. Why I say all these things is because by this is an entry point. By this, you define the organization culture, how you want it to competitively, agile organizations. I'm happy to take a question, if any, let me know.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah. First, thanks for the presentation. We enjoyed it a lot. I just had a different question. Especially we are like teaching in the university, and always the student, they are asking us this question. When we look for any job, then they will be asking for experience and other things. But as a fresh graduate, where they are fitting in the recruitment process?
As a fresh graduate, see, when as a fresh graduate, we don't look for any of the organization or experience as such. As I said in the first, it's can do, it's an attitude. If you have a right attitude, skills can be taught by any organization. When you look out, when you pass out from any graduation, you need to have a right attitude attitude towards the job. That's it. Having a right attitude is the passport to get into the right job. It's about your attitude towards the work. Work is always there. There is no shortage of work. It is an attitude which makes a big difference in any organization. Even not only is a fresher, even after experience of the years of experience, a right attitude will take you to the right path. You may have to suffer for some times, but that is a success stone for you. That's why I thought to make today's our recruitment so that you look at world as a world of work, what organization look for. As an HR, as a recruiter, what we look for is an attitude. We don't look for anything else, is a right attitude towards the job. If you come with the right attitude, give an interview, we understand he lacks skills. Skills can be important, it is easy to impart. Organization builds a budget to impart the skills. But an attitude, which is a 70% below the waterline, is for you to develop within you and come for interview in a right attitude. That's it.
So maybe I will ask a part B of the question.
Yes, please.
What is, in your opinion and experience, what is a good attitude? For example, if a new fresh graduate he came, what are you expecting in kind of attitude?
Can do function, can do attitude. That's it. If I'm a recruiter, I say if that person I'm looking for interviews, I know is a fresh graduate. I cannot ask any question about experience. I will say whether his attitude towards the work is good. Is can do attitude, which is say that I'm ready to do. You give me any work I'm able to do. If I don't know, be open and say, I will learn. Please give me impart a skill. That's it. If I'm a recruiter, I only see the can do attitude and open for learning. What else we expect from freshers? Nothing else. You already have the theory, you already have the knowledge, but only the practice. That's it. Only openness, willing to learn, and can do attitude. I do recruitment extensively across Middle East, Asia, and everything, where I see that we only hire who can be trainable. Who can be trainable. If you look at all our assessments, we have a development. When we, after doing the recruitment, we write, these are the development plan for this guy. That's it. Nothing else. We build that into the induction process so that when he's in the organization, these skills can be imparted. Hope I answered your question. I'm happy to answer that. That's it.
Yeah. I will give my colleagues like to ask. If they don't ask, I will go to part C.
Absolutely fine. Thank you.
So maybe they are preparing their questions. So let me move to part. Sorry to ask, but just to get a knowledge and transfer to the student. So what are the things that actually like give you the first impression that you are going to reject a new fresh graduate? Like the first thing or something that give you an indication that, oh, it's not fit for this job.
Can you repeat the question? What is that? Not fit for a job means how is that? What is that?
For example, there are some like attitudes that once you see it in that new fresh graduate, directly it comes to your mind that it's not fit for the job. What are those things?
As a fresh graduate, there is nothing called no fit for the job. Believe it or not. When you take a raw, this is the raw material for you, right? There's a raw material when you go for any interviews or any campus, when you look at the freshers, when you company decide to take freshers, that's a raw material. The raw material to bring finished product is the company's requirement. When you look at the raw material as a fresh graduate, whether we see how long this raw material be converted to finished product, it depends on the raw materials. So if it's too hard, company to invest too much money, they will think other way around. If you have an attitude or an openness to learning, again, I'm coming back to the same one, because being a fresher, that determines you are ready to be sold in the market, ready to be acquired in the market. That is the only things where we can, where I can give answers in this one. It's about, there is no way you can say you may be not selected, maybe not the right chance. It's about recruitment. You have also have a chance to say that I don't want to work. It's not my long-term interest or in a short-term interest. I wanted to go in a different domain. That's fine. You have ability. It's not that you have to take whatever it comes. I say no. You have to choose the right things as per your interest, because once you are passionate about what you are doing, you need not to push. If the wind blows on the same way, the boat also moves smoothly. So it is that what you have to choose, which company, which industry, which sector. It's also as important as a candidate, because once you know what you're going to do, it's easier to talk about, easier to present yourself. You need to be. Yeah, you need to be very, very clear in your mind. What is that I'm looking at? Once you are zeroed down, this is all I look at it. This is what I'm going to do. It is easier. Anything else? Hope, Ali, I've answered your question. If any of the questions, I'm happy to answer and give a clarification in case.
Yeah, you answered the question, but we hope from Hussein Muhammad to send the presentation, if you don't mind, the PowerPoint. Yeah.
Yes.
MashaAllah. Thank you, Mr. Sambat. Thank you very much indeed. We really enjoy with your presentation and with the information we gain it from you. I'm sure our students they enjoy with us, and those who couldn't attend, we will send them by email so they can see what you deliver for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And inshallah, we hope to see you in the future in your premises, and or to visit us in our premises. Mr. Sambat, thank you very much indeed, and look forward to be in touch with you in the future, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Merhaba.
Thank you.